As the world focuses on Russia's moves in Ukraine, Moscow is quietly redrawing the map of influence in Africa. With troops on the ground, gold mines under contract, and propaganda, Russia's taking the space of Western powers and reshaping the rules of the game. In less than a decade, Russia has become an important military player in Africa. It has signed military cooperation agreements with dozens of countries and continues to do so. Only recently, for example, it struck a deal with the strategically located island nation of Sao Tome and Principe in the Gulf of Guinea. And in 2022, it signed a military cooperation agreement with Cameroon. But where Russia has been most visible and politically influential is in unstable countries that are fighting insurgencies, especially those situated in France's traditional sphere of influence and with important mineral resources like diamonds, oil or gold. The best known example is the Central African Republic. In 2018, Russia sent arms and instructors for the National Army after the UN Security Council approved a resolution to temporarily ease the arms embargo. Soon after, Moscow allowed the private military company Wagner to advise the president on security, start businesses, and distribute anti-French propaganda. Despite Wagner leader Yevgeny Prigozhin's death in 2023, the group lives on as a powerful brand name that projects Russia's military might. Today, an estimated 2,000 Russian personnel train the army and local militias, help keep the president safe, and protect the country's only industrial-scale gold mine, Indasima, while exporting gold and diamonds through Diamville, a company that is under EU and US sanctions. Africa Corps is a new structure under Russia's defense ministry that is now absorbing Wagner's operations in Africa. The Central African Republic is just part of a bigger picture. Russia has its eyes on a more strategic prize, Libya, where there is much less international scrutiny of Moscow's presence than elsewhere. There, under the Africa Corps brand and Wagner before it, Russian troops operate alongside forces led by Field Marshal Khalid Haftar, who opposes the internationally recognized government in Tripoli. Moscow uses Libya as a key logistics hub for its operations in Africa. Russian fighter jets are stationed at Al Jufra Air Base, and cargo planes stopped there to refuel. For a while, Moscow also maintained a presence in the Sirte Air Base, near the coast, giving it a view over the central Mediterranean sea traffic. It is unclear if it still does, but it's no secret that Moscow aims to clinch a deal with local authorities to build a Russian port in the area. Africa Corps is also present in Mali, with more than 1,500 military personnel. They fought rebels and jihadists. They've been seen patrolling some of Bamako's streets, and they've stepped in after the country's military leadership expelled the UN peacekeeping mission in 2023. Mali now relies heavily on Russian military support, but is also increasingly turning towards Turkey. Africa Corps isn't secretive about its role in Mali at all. You can find a huge amount of propaganda videos on the social media platform Telegram and private media outlets like Cap Mali Plus. But, as in the Central African Republic, Russian-backed combatants are also hovering around the mining sector. Mali is one of Africa's top 3 gold producers. And for Russia, involvement in the gold mining sector offers not only strategic access, but also important economic dividends from its presence. There are strong indications that Russians advised Malian authorities on rewriting the mining code, which has allowed the state to increase control over the sector. So Mali has also begun developing a gold refinery with a Russian company in Senu, near Bamako, and that is supposed to have a refining capacity of 200 tons a year, almost 4 times the country's current gold output. Russian personnel have been seen near artisanal gold mines, like in Tahaka, near the Burkina Faso border, as well as in southern Mali. The problem with this type of economic engagement is that a large amount of income from gold is used to sustain the regime and fund the army's fight against jihadist groups. And that diverts resources away from essential investment in health, education and infrastructure. It also casts doubts on Africa Corps' intentions, as its presence could entrench rather than solve the conflict in Mali. There's another side to all of this: information warfare. There is growing evidence that Russian advisors have helped Mali's neighbor Burkina Faso where jihadist insurgents exert influence over large parts of the country, establish a propaganda unit. This team produces and distributes anti-Western reels and pro-regime videos portraying Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the country's leader, as a Pan-African revolutionary hero. These videos are reverberating across the African continent. Still, there are only about 200 Russian personnel in Burkina Faso, and they're mainly there to protect Traoré and his administration, at least so far. It is understandable that these regimes have opted for military support from Russia, given their weak armies, struggling economies, and their vulnerability in the face of asymmetrical warfare with insurgents. But the trade-offs are big. There are serious concerns about human rights abuses and dwindling space for public debate in all of these countries. An adoption of a purely military approach that hasn't brought real security. Another concern is that without checks and balances, their main source of income, natural resources, buys the continued loyalty of the ruling elites. It also often comes at the expense of a more competitive business and political climate. And finally, Russia's expertise in information warfare could stoke instability in countries that are not aligned with Moscow, ratcheting up tensions across borders. So Russia's presence on the continent offers short-term solutions for some African leaders, but it's also reshaping power dynamics in ways that could deepen regional instability for years to come.